All right, so we're gonna jump into this pretty quickly. We have a very, very, very action-packed day. This is something Mr. Dorsey and I have literally been working on for like 6 to 8 weeks just for this first session, etc. So we are really excited to share all the learnings, that we've accumulated, over the last months with all of you. We've got more and more people rolling in. So we will get started here. Probably give like another 30, 45 seconds. We're at, let's see, about 86 here. Another so big group on LinkedIn. So yeah, feel free as well. We will do our best. I can't promise to answer a ton of Q&A. I love Q&A. What's up, Steve Burton? I love Q&A. I know KD does too. So feel free to drop in your questions. We will try to tackle those in line. Also, make sure to drop in your role for us. Is, hey, what's your role? What's going on, Mario? Where are you joining us from? So where's your role? Where you're joining us from? Those are kind of my two go-tos. Without further ado, Mr. Kevin Dorsey. What's going on, Kevin?
Oh, you know me, man. Just hanging out, chilling. I've gotten really.
You don't have anything. You guys only got like 3 things going on. You know what I mean?
I work really hard to make it look like I work really hard. Like it's practically like a skill at this point. How good I am at looking like I'm good at what I do. I'm good at this stuff.
Just busy, That's my favorite. I was talking to somebody about this the other day. I'm like, you know what I don't like? Why is busy the answer for everybody? Yeah. Like when did busy become the like, oh, how you doing? Oh, I'm busy. Just busy.
Busy. Everyone's busy, right? Like very like it's I try to rarely ever make that the answer. Right. Because like busy is it's a feeling too. Like when you love what you're doing, you're not busy.
Yes.
Like
yes.
you're in it. You're like, oh man, I'm building. You're busy when you don't love what you're doing. So I got a lot going on, but I still don't feel.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. If you're out there, you're thinking, man, I feel busy, then maybe it means it's just a grind. Yeah. So you didn't know you were going to sign up for that when you signed up for AI Unleashed, did you? We can't help it. We're sales leaders. Like we have to just talk about all this other stuff.
Let's go.
So without further ado, we're going to jump in, everyone. We got hundreds of people joining us today, probably thousands more watching this in replay later. So very excited, really appreciate all of you joining. Kevin, I'll give my 2 cents on why I feel like this is just, so critical. And then, we can kind of talk about our experience too. But for me, I'm telling you, as someone who has implemented hundreds, if not thousands of sales technologies, overhauled hundreds, if not thousands of sales processes, there's no tool that exists now that I feel like has the potential to do as much good and have as big of impact as generative AI. And I'll talk about that. And so that's why, again, if you want to know, like, Jake, man, you've really been talking about this, like, I'm not going to stop because it's that important. And so KD, just maybe talk a little bit about your journey, for generative AI, how you got into this and, where you see some of these, trends going and what you're excited about.
Yeah, it's the first, I'd say, new thing in the past 9 to 10 years that I think actually will change how we do things. And if we look at technology and what it's capable of now, right? Like, there's the old quote that people overestimate what they can do in 1 year and underestimate what they can do in 2. It's the same thing with technology. People overestimate like what it can do now, but underestimate what this is going to be able to do in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. That's why I'm hyped on this now, because this is going to change a lot over the next 3 years. And I want to be at the front of it. I want to be ready for it.
Yeah. And I think too, it's like, even, me and you talk about this. It's like, it's like a week later, you're like, oh, hey, did you see this? Like, did you see this? For those of you who don't know, ChatGPT just dropped the ability to do some like customization. And we're going to talk about that in some of our future sessions where, you can really train it to do some very specific things. So I'm just going to talk about this like just real quick. The term AI is not new. It was originally Allen Iverson, but that was like the real
story.
You know what I mean? That was like the original, OG AI. But we've been talking about this for a long time. Really, most AI for a long time was just if this, then that. It was like, okay, if this happens, then you do. It's just big decision trees, right? That machine learning, that was kind of like the V1 of this stuff. So generative AI, like what's truly different about it is its ability to really interpret and match to very specific different data sets, depending on very like nuanced things, to where it doesn't need the same kind of amount of programming on the back end. And again, preface, Kevin and I are not, we're getting dangerous with some of these like do-it-yourself tools, but so just understand, like, that's what's different here, is that before it was like if this and that, blah blah blah, and there are a bunch of decision trees, and now it's much more like free, flowing. And that's really why when ChatGPT came out, people were like, whoa, this is different, right, as a part of this. So,
and I want to touch on that real quick, because truthfully, to me, sales and leadership is borderline nothing but a long if-then chain.
That's like a whole other conversation.
Not to oversimplify it, y'all, but it is. If you want this deal, then you have to target this type of prospect. If you want to target this type of prospect, then you have to use this type of language. If you like, it actually is that. And all those if-thens have lived in our heads for the last 10 years. Mm-hmm. Now we're able to start to take the if-thens out and put them someplace that can work with us in real time. That's what makes this so amazing to me.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I think that was, if you all don't know how this kind of this deep friendship, got deeper around AI in particular, it was this topic. Me and Kevin were sitting there having a beer, eating some pizza in Austin, and just going down the rabbit hole of like, wait, what would you do here? What would you do here? And it's like, there's just a right and a wrong way to do it. Like, it's not like some of these situations, it's like, hey, I'm stuck on a deal, I do this, this, and this. It's like, well, then this is just the next answer. Like, there are some additional details. And I think, Kevin, you're really the one who got me starting to go down the rabbit hole of like, oh, okay. Oh, wait, if you can do that. And I feel like every day I learn something there too,
Yeah.
So I love that call out. And I think that's a scary part for some leaders. So if you're, again, we've got a lot of sales leaders joining us today. If you're a sales leader, don't worry. A lot of what you do is proprietary. There's other value add things that you do. I can't replicate all of you, et cetera. So Katie, I'm going to jump into some of these, but for you, why do you feel like this matters to salespeople? Why should anybody listening right now or in replay, what do you feel like? We've talked about how big we think it's going to be, but what are some of the more tactical, and again, we'll kind of get into some of these here, reasons that you see sales, and specifically sales leaders, running to AI, and where they can extract the most value out of it?
Well, why I see people running to it is the sexiness of it. Like, it's new, and it's like, ooh, this is going to save me so much time, right? Because we're so addicted to speed and SaaS, right? So that's why everyone's flocking to it now.
Yeah.
Why I think it's exciting is it can save us time if done well. It can make us better if done well. It can help us connect the dots faster if done well. And then, which of course leads to better revenue, better meetings, better pipeline management, better performance, but it has to be done well. And that is what we're going to get into this, but like, people are using it right now. They're not using it well. They're like, oh, ChatGPT, write me an email. And it doesn't go well. And it's actually going to make things worse for us. But like, this affects everything. I just said it. Sales to me is if-thens. We can finally document these if-thens in a way that make it usable every day.
Yeah. And the nuances, right? Which is, again, the beautiful part of like what generative AI can do is understand, what's the difference between this word and this word? And like, actually, that means probably it should be a little bit more this versus that, which again, I think where the classic if this and that was, so it's still linear, and what this allows it to do is have those linear components, but then also, I think you also kind of mean this thing, which, if you're a sales leader, those are the things that you pick up on, right? You pick up on the like, well, do you mean this? And we'll talk later, in future sessions about the future of AI and these auto prompt tools and what those are going to mean, because that's where we're going to head. For me, again, all these reasons up here, and that Kevin and I talked about, I think are just really critical. But at the end of the day, it's about outcomes. That it's not just about, it helped me to write a better message. And Janelle, thank you. Janelle asked just about writing messages. I think it's next week or the week after. I think KD, we're going to go deep on messaging. Is that right? Is that where the I think that's right. Maybe 2 weeks. So if you're going to be attending all the sessions, so don't worry about that. But I will say, I mean, man, as I start to just uncover and unpack and think of new different prompt strategies that we'll get into, just the opportunity here is so critical. This is a quick poll that we did, and again, I just wanted to get a sense for it. We had 622 people respond. It's pretty wild, man. 71% say that they're using ChatGPT or similar tools. 30% said every day. 71% said every day, week, month. Right, still 29% said not using it, which I'm like, what are you doing? But
I'd be curious for just what we got here. Drop a 1 if you're using it weekly. Drop a 0 if you're not. I'd be curious, or we could do a real poll.
Yeah,
but like, I'm just curious. 1 if you are. Look at this.
Oh shit! There you go.
Like,
zeros. Yeah, you're joining this, so chances are you're like, I'm into this shit.
Potentially. Oh, we got a 5 from 5 memes, James. I'll take it.
I like it. Charles is like, wait, hey, if he's a 5, I'm a 5. So there you go, man. There you go, KD.
Yeah, and this scares me more than it excites me in terms of where things are right now. So like that's why we started to put this together, because like people are using it. Again, done well, totally different story.
Mm-hmm. How about sales leaders? If you're a sales leader out there, I love Danny Petros. I've defaulted it to my homepage to force the adoption. Dude, good for you. I mean, I'm telling you, I find myself doing that too, KD. Like where I'm starting something, I'm like, Jake, stop immediately. Go to ChatGPT. Stop immediately.
See if it can. Like see if it can. This is where I start to think too. Could it? And then if it can't, then I try to figure out how could it do this? What's that prompt? How to go there? Because to your earlier point, if it doesn't go well, this is a problem to me.
Yeah, and I think the key there is that if it doesn't go well, I equate it to a good. It's like a Google search. It's so funny with ChatGPT in particular. It's like how often does Google search return the exact thing that you thought? Right? It's like, So, a lot of it is, again, the quality of the search terms. What do you tell it to do? These types of things. And so, for a lot of folks out there, if you're in that camp that's tried it a few times, again, it's usually the quality of the input. And we're going to get into how to do better prompting and things like that too. So, KD, you started to talk about pitfalls, man. What do you see for sales leaders, right? Sales leaders in particular, the pitfalls of what's happening. Again, you saw all the 1s and the 5s, all those things, coming in. What do you see as some of the pitfalls there?
Well, like what's the old quote, right? A fool with a tool is still a fool. Right. Now, I'm not calling salespeople fools by any means, but we haven't been taught how to use this tool. And so people are starting to use it, right? And if it's never been taught how, you're using a hammer to try to screw in a nail. Like, yes, it's a tool, but we haven't been taught how to do it, which actually creates so much room for error. And two, especially with ChatGPT, if it's not connected to the internet, it's only giving you responses from 2021, and it has so much content that it doesn't have the context. And so reps can be going to it and getting answers that they believe to be good that actually aren't good, right? Based off the question that they asked. And so then you go out, you send it out, and now we've got problems, and it can ruin your data. It can ruin your reputation. Like all that can be a problem if we're not using it the right way. And with like our content, I don't necessarily want reps going out to the greater good. Can you imagine Googling how to handle an objection? How should I handle a pricing objection? And then you're going to get 47 different websites with 19 different ways to handle it. And you got to pick. It's too broad as well for most people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and again, I think to your point, what you said earlier, it's okay to get like an idea, right? You could get an idea, from it too. And obviously we're going to get into kind of, one of the questions here. I saw Drew Noel. What's going on, Drew? Drew said, have you found to more quickly and elegantly incorporate Gen AI into specific workflows, processes, less context? Also, again, someone talking about, oversight and being able to, think about like, hey, is there a single platform, et cetera? And what we're going to get into, I think, is going to solve a couple of these, which is, and not necessarily on, this session, but over the course of sessions, we're going to talk about how to get more accurate answers consistently, which is a lot in, kind of how you prompt, how you think about prompts. Actually, we'll talk about that here in a second. But yeah, I mean, to answer anonymous attendees' question, we have clients right now where, what we're doing is, we're creating standardized prompts for specific use cases. And so the team knows, and again, going back to Kevin's point, which is you can tell it, again, we're going to have a meeting with a CFO. This is the product, et cetera. So we're going to get into a lot of the prompt stuff. And these are some ways to create some amount of governance around it, but still, we can lead the horse to water. We can train them. We can talk about these things. But it's better than nothing, right? It's like if we can make it a little bit more repeatable if we feed people these details on what we have. We can, again, come up with some governance potentially around like, hey, when it returns these types of answers, come to your manager, right? That's a kind of a no-brainer here. So this to me is the fun part. This to me, KD, and I want to understand some of your favorite prompt strategies or styles. It's really interesting. Brian on my team, shout out Brian. Brian does a daily AI show. We started to uncover this. What we started to realize is that there's these different ways that we were using prompts that were different than like what do you call it? A typical like, we call it like impersonation. But man, we found these really amazing things that you could do, man, like role playing, scenario planning, research, skills trainer. Like, for you, KD, like how do you use it? And when you talk to other sales leaders, there's so many cool ways. I think a lot of people just use it for like research. Tell me what to do about this thing. Tell me a message to write. It's like, give me a thing, but my God, the applications are so much larger.
Like, Jake, literally 5 minutes before this, the call I was just on before this was with my enablement leader. And literally in that call, we were walking through how to build out role playing and onboarding scenarios for some new content that we have coming out, right? Whereas opposed to having to do it one-to-one, we can create the role play scenario. This is the situation and guide a rep through it. So role playing scenarios. I saw a question come in from Drew, right? A lot of people are using it to summarize content, which is great, but oftentimes it's already reactive, like the call already happened. I want to try to actually also use it how to prepare for. What are some things I should think about going into this call? What are some concepts that maybe I'm not aware of? One of my favorite prompt strategies so far I've been using is actually the opposite. Not how to close or not what should I say. Why wouldn't someone want to buy this, right? What are the unspoken blockers that may be happening? What are the trends in this industry that actually work against our product and our situation? Like, I want the counter points, right? That negative prompt strategy is strong. So I'm getting into all this right now, but we are literally in progress of building an onboarding bot for our team based off all the content that we already have. Like, this is in play right now.
Yep, I agree 1,000. I mean, look, for a lot of you listening right now, I think, again, a lot of people think about like, tell me for the scenario. And you and I both know as sales leaders, KD, I don't want my reps preparing for the rose-colored glasses scenario. I want you to prepare for this guy is a complete, you know what? And IT always shoots me down for this reason. Tell me the 3 reasons why they're going to hate my value proposition. Like that is where it is at. Like I've done a whole bunch of talks lately about onboarding, and there's just so many different ways to use it that you and I could go on and on about some of these. Like my favorite new one, KD, is skill. I call it skill trainer, but also like a variation as trivia. So imagine this prompt strategy. I want you to create a game where you are a trivia bot. I'm a seller for this. I'm struggling to connect with CEOs around their digital marketing spend. I want you to impersonate a CEO and ask me a series of questions to make sure I understand what might actually resonate with a CEO around digital marketing conversion. Answer question after I ask question 1, give me the answer and the reasons why. and then give me question 2.
That
Ooh.
like real quick, and you asked me at the start of this, like when I'm talking to other sales leaders, guess what they're not doing? That type of prompting.
Oh,
It's still
nobody.
very much like, what are the trends in fintech right now? Like,
Good use
again,
case.
like, right, but it also, but again, not if it's not up to date, not if you're in ChatGPT, because the trends in 2021 are different than the trends right now in the last 90 days, right? So it's that level of prompt engineering. Y'all would laugh at Jake and I's like text history. Like it's screenshots of different like prompt guides and screenshots of like, ooh, I asked it this way and look like it's the most boring / exciting chat that I have going on right now. And I love it.
I love it, man. Yeah. So do not fret. A lot of you are probably like, dang, this sounds amazing. My friends, we will make sure that you all get all of this, right? So we're in the process right now of putting together a couple of areas here where we've got, different prompt examples, etc. So, stick with us as we're, kind of launching this. SRG marketing, any plugins that let you access? Yes. The one that Brian and I use, there's two. There's one called Web Pilot. That's probably the most common one that we use. There's another one called Web Research. Both of these, what you all have to do in case you all, again, to not skip ahead, everyone, if you have ChatGPT and you have a paid account, you can go into ChatGPT and you can apply to get what's called a developer account. Whenever you get a developer account, it'll take like 24 to 48 hours. You then get access to pull in APIs, Zapier, some of these ones that I talked about. I mean, there's some other cool, like whole workflow stuff, Katie, I could start nerding out on, but that's the, so anyway, that's how you get the plugin for ChatGPT, if y'all are wondering. The other one is to check out Bing. Browser Pilot, that's great. Check out Bing. Bing's like okay. Like I've messed around lately with Bing's chat because it uses part of OpenAI and then surfs the web. So there you go. There's some more tactical stuff. So this is what we're going to be covering. So that we're going to be covering kind of the 4 main use cases in sales for you all over the course of this series: pipeline generation, closing more deals, working with your current customers, and then sales leadership, training, and coaching. Right? Just so everyone's aware, every single one of these is going to have a lens of sales leadership. Hey, if you're a sales leader, here's how your team should be using it to drive more pipeline. And yes, we will talk about messaging, but my friends, stop getting hung up on messaging is like the main use for this. Within those 4, we've come up with kind of like the 9 key areas, as KD mentioned. And then we've got these different prompt scenarios that I just talked you all through. So, over the course of the next 9+ weeks, you are going to get a true, master class, right? That's like so overused, but I mean, this really is going to be a master class for all of you, on like what to do. And we're going to get into some detail here on exactly what's going to go into this. So first, let's talk a little about pipeline generation. So Katie, maybe talk about some of your use cases here. Again, out of the 9, we've got 2 here: prep and research and messaging. What are some of the big ways you feel like, generative AI, ChatGPT are going to impact this?
Yeah, so it's the creation of proactive messaging, like what messaging should I be bringing to market, and at the same time giving it the background of it, of saying like, hey, using best practices and the laws of influence and digital marketing content from XYZ, craft some great first sentences for this persona. Right. So really starting to craft better messaging that can connect persona based, but then also to objection handling, video script writing, changing the messaging by vertical, changing the messaging by even inbound lead. Like right now we're reworking our cadences of like if someone came from Google versus someone came from TikTok versus someone came from Facebook, reworking those types of things. So this is going to be a big one for sure.
That's a whole other, don't get me started with dynamic sales routing and dynamic sales processes. I had a conversation with the $60+ million a year SaaS company on this exact topic and it's not like, oh, so-and-so came here, so everyone has to get an SDR call. Like, please God, no. Yeah. But for when I look at these two, prep and research, like you said, being proactive, you can feed these. It's crazy, man. Like it can summarize. Brian on my team, again, Brian writes these like ridiculously long prompts that are extremely good that again will make accessible for everyone. But it can ingest investor relation pages. Like it can ingest like, hey, over the last whatever, and again, sometimes it struggles with some of this stuff, like if the website won't give access to it. but there again, with Bing, you can do it for sure. I could say like, hey, based on the summarizing the last 20 press releases, I sell the product like this. I want to book a meeting with somebody at this company at this exec level. What are 2 or 3 common themes around this that are relevant to what they're talking about publicly? Dude, that would have taken me
It's
hours.
the full flow. You're going to research the industry, then you're going to research call it the personas, then you get to research the account, then you get to research the individual. When you have that full flow, now you can build personalized and relevant messaging, not just write me an email to Jake Dunlap, like what's going on in the industry you sell to, what's going on at the persona level that you sell to, what's going on at the account that you sell to, and then you get to the personas. That's where if you get those first relevant things done, the personalization only goes so far, but like you will be so relevant with your messaging that's what's going to generate more responses.
Yes, that's it. So spot on. Again, like that idea of relevancy. That's where, again, going back to those prompt strategies, if you are a sales rep at a company or you are a sales leader looking to ramp people faster, the ability for ChatGPT to role play with your team. What are these people going through? What does my persona go through? What is like what's happening again in the industry? We could use some webhooks again, depending on how things change. Your team, I firmly believe, KD, I think we're going to be able to ramp people in like 2 to 5 weeks instead of 3 to 4 months, because they can just role play with the industry. Why do I care? Why do I care? Okay, great. I do this. We sell this product. Stop talking about that. Like the ability to role play the relevance is going to immediately allow reps. I mean, I'm just going to have them sit there and do it.
I was just going to say, it's the repetition. Again, y'all, hear us. It's not just the content. It's the repetition that allows you to do. I can have 9 different reps going back and forth right now on the specific scenario that I built with the information that I want in it over and over and over again with no fatigue, with no bias, with nothing happen. It's that repetition that's going to be so good.
Exactly. That's the point. Again, like as you start to work with it and again, make sure it works effectively, that is what this can do. I mean, so it's pretty wild, like what this, can happen. Again, at the deal size, and again, keep in mind we're going to be going through this.
I was just going to say, we're going to go deep on this
as a part of this, but think about there's other deal implications: complex deal, problem to solution, follow-up and engagement. On the customer success side, and again, just to keep in mind, guys, we're going to have sessions for all of these. That's what's coming up next. This getting up to speed on clients. Oh my God. Do you know how much better, again, talk about drilling it. You can like make your clients excited about the handoff process by like just summarizing the research, the same type of research and ideas and, ways that you could help a customer. And then Katie, I know you're passionate about these kind of last few around AI powered onboarding, target skill building. Talk a little bit about these, man. Because again, for the sales leaders out there, all these sessions are for you all. Yes, Bob, it's recorded. So Katie, talk a little bit about this one as we kind of, wrap up for the rest of the
So the key, right, is as leaders, for the most part, this is what's scary, not to get people too crazy, but we are paid for our knowledge and our ability to take content and apply it to context, right? So if I asked y'all, like, what should I do if a deal is stalling? All of y'all have answers. You have answers already in your head. I'll ask the group, what would you do? A deal is stalling. What would you look for? Real quick, I'm gonna put y'all on the spot. All my sales leaders, a deal is stalling. What would you look for? All right, let's see what people throw in the chat here. Because that knowledge now can live in a place that your reps can access without talking to you or without having to grab you in. It can be proactive coaching, right? Are we aligned with the DM, right? Who all is a part of the deal? Are we in touch with them? When's the last time we reached out? What was the problem? Why does it matter? So that's what I believe is we can start to take the things that are living here and put it in a place that reps can access in real time and be proactive with it, right? It's taking our best practices. And I just want to harp on this so much is if you just go to ChatGPT as it is, that's not your best practices, right? Each one of us has different best practices that we want with our teams to be leveraging. That's what makes this so exciting is we can leverage that and use that at scale.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's what and just, the ability to do what we're talking about is very feasible, right? It's very, very, very feasible in the very future and the very near future to be able to do some of that. So we're going to be talking about that as we get into it. Upcoming sessions here. Becca on our team dropped a few links. We will be sending out the recording. If you're joining us on LinkedIn, you can keep joining us on LinkedIn if you want. Or you can join us on Zoom in the future. Going to talk about onboarding. I'm going to make KD talk about all the cool things that he's doing with his own organization. And again, get ready. Just get ready. This is the one when sales leaders, we talk about onboarding, they're like, I feel like that's when the light bulbs start to go on. They're like, oh yeah, I could do that. Oh, I could, do that. So excited for it. As we talked about before, we're doing very, kind of hands-on work with organizations. So again, if you're listening to this right now and you're like, Jake, I love this. We need someone to help us with it. Me, KD, we gotcha. So again, if you're someone out there, you're listening to this and you're like, Jake, look, I love the sessions. I want to keep coming and I'm going to, but I also, I need to implement this stuff. Then make sure, hit us up. So thank you, Kevin. Thank you, everyone. If we didn't get to your question, Becca on our team will kind of catalog all these and we'll make sure to answer them on the next one. So again, stay tuned. We're going to talk about all the applications for onboarding next week. It should be a fun one. Thanks, Kevin. And we'll see everybody next week.
Just getting started.
Just getting started. See y'all.